TomoNews presents Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Alien theorists claim to see crab facehugger in Martian cave. NASA's Mars Curiosity rover has picked up some pretty interesting images of the red planet. The latest fascinating image includes one feature that space enthusiasts say looks very similar to a facehugger from the movie Alien, or a giant crab. Can you see it? Here's a closer look courtesy of UFO Vini. Scientists say that seeing recognizable animals or objects in clouds or rock formations is a psychological response called pareidolia. That's why people can see things that aren't there. But what if a giant crab-like creature did live on Mars? That means there's got to be water there too. Or the potential for all kinds of life forms to exist in a harsh environment on the fourth planet from the sun. David Lazarus from the Los Angeles Times tweeted, "Rock on Mars that looks like hideous crab monster identified by scientists as just a rock." This isn't the first time an image from Mars has stirred up us Earthlings. Back in 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter snapped a picture of what appeared to be a face staring back from the Martian surface. It turned out that was just a rock too. Real-life Death Star seen destroying a solar system. A dying star is ripping apart planets in its own solar system, according to a team of astronomers who published a paper in the journal Nature. The zombie star, called WD 1145+017, is a white dwarf in the constellation Virgo. Stars shine because they convert hydrogen into helium through a process known as nuclear fusion. After a regular star uses up its nuclear fuel, it expands and turns into a red giant. Red giants are hot enough to convert helium into carbon. However, when helium fuel exhausts, red giants start to contract and become more compact, eventually turning into a white dwarf, a leftover of the star's inner core. A white dwarf is extremely dense. Its gravitational pull is so enormous that it can tear an orbiting planet apart. A star's orbit changes when its mass changes. The change in a dying star's orbit may kick another planet into orbiting closer around the white dwarf. When the planet orbits closer than the habitable zone, it can be disintegrated by the gravitational pull of the white dwarf. The white dwarf was spotted by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope as part of the spacecraft's K2 mission.
Meet our sun's long-lost evil twin. Scientists have long believed that stars are born with at least one companion. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much evidence to support this theory until now. A new study has found that sun-like stars initially form as wide binaries and either come together or break apart over the next million years. Some systems, like the Alpha Centauri, even form as triplets. Our sun would have been separated by a distance of 500 or more astronomical units from its twin star before it was believed to have moved farther away. The twin has been dubbed Nemesis after scientists hypothesized that it had knocked an asteroid out of orbit and sent it hurtling toward Earth. They say that asteroid eventually collided with our planet and killed off the dinosaurs. Still, Nemesis has never actually been found, and the idea that it may be responsible for catastrophic events on Earth has yet to be proved.
Forever, forever, diamonds are forever, forever.
Diamonds big enough to be worn by Hollywood film stars could be raining down on Saturn and Jupiter. Methane gas is found in the atmosphere of the solar system's two biggest planets. It all begins in the upper atmosphere, where lightning turns methane into soot in the thunderstorm alleys. As the soot falls, the pressure on it increases. After about 1,600 kilometers, it turns to graphite. The graphite hardens into diamonds as it continues to fall for another 30,000 kilometers. The pressure and temperature are hellish. These diamonds eventually melt into a liquid sea in the planet's hot cores. Maybe this will give De Beers the opportunity to send missions to Saturn to go find diamonds.
Mercury about to make a rare appearance across the sun's face. Our solar system's smallest planet will be visible on Monday as it passes between Earth and the sun, a rare spectacle that only occurs a few times a century. While the Earth takes 365 days to orbit the sun, Mercury only takes 88 days to make the journey. Skywatchers worldwide will be able to witness part of this voyage on Monday. Mercury passes between Earth and the sun 3 times a year, about every 4 months. However, Mercury's tilted orbit prevents us normally seeing this journey. As Mercury's orbit is inclined 7 degrees to the plane of Earth's orbit, it's rare for the 3 bodies to line up so that Mercury is in our direct line of sight to the sun. In fact, this only occurs 13 to 14 times a century. The next time we'll be able to view Mercury's transit will be in 2019 and 2032. Mercury, which is about 3 times smaller than Earth, will be just 1 of 158th the width of the Sun's disk, so its movement across the Sun is only visible with high-powered lenses. Mercury will take about 7.5 hours to move across the Sun, beginning from 7:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until around 2:42 p.m. An interesting phenomenon that can be observed is the black drop effect, which occurs when Mercury's edge forms a teardrop shape as it touches the Sun's edge. Mercury's flit across the Sun will be visible through much of Western Europe, Northwestern Africa, and the Americas, while other areas of the world may see part of the transit.
Japan plans to open the 2020 Olympics with an artificial meteor shower. Japan aims to bedazzle spectators at the 2020 Summer Olympics by combining astronomy and entertainment, creating a kind of light show that no one on Earth has ever seen. To kickstart the 2020 Olympics, a Japan-based startup plans to send a satellite carrying up to 1,000 pellets, each with a price tag of $8,100, into space. A single pellet measures a couple centimeters in diameter, but what they're made from is kept a secret. The startup will launch the satellite from Earth, and once the satellite has stabilized its orbit around the planet, it will then eject the pellets using a special device that has not been disclosed. Once the pellets enter the Earth's atmosphere, they'll catch fire when they're about 40 to 50 miles from the ground. The pellets are coated in different chemicals so that the flames can emit different colors. The meteor shower will be visible even in the presence of Tokyo's light pollution, and the pellets will travel slower than natural shooting stars. The developer of this pricey light show hopes that their artificial shooting stars, by igniting public interest in astronomy, will support future astronomical projects in Japan.
A nearby star is emitting weird radio waves. A star close to our solar system was found last week to be playing some pretty weird jams on the radio. Well, not exactly. The Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico discovered peculiar radio signals coming from the star Ross 128 in the Virgo constellation. Scientists say the reason for this could be one of three things. The signals could have originated from a solar flare, from something else passing in front of the telescope's view of Ross 128, or it could simply be a radio burst from a high-orbit satellite. Researchers say the recurring hypothesis that aliens are behind the signal is at the bottom of many other explanations. So it's probably not ET or the Death Star, Spock or the Saiyans.
Scientists find 3 Earth-like planets circling a tiny star. The search for life beyond our solar system has taken an exciting turn after a Belgian-led team reported finding planets with the potential to host life. Astronomers using the TRAPPIST telescope in Chile have discovered 3 new planets in the Aquarius constellation. The planets are 40 light-years away and similar in size and temperature to Earth. They orbit an ultra-cool dwarf star named TRAPPIST-1, a dim red sun about 1/10 the size of ours and only half as hot. All 3 could have liquid water on their surfaces and thus be potentially hospitable to life. The 2 closest planets complete an orbit in 1.5 and 2.4 Earth days, respectively. They receive 2 to 4 times more radiation than Earth and may have areas that can sustain life. The third, with an orbital period ranging from 4 to 73 days, receives less radiation and may fall within the habitable zone. Scientists are already studying the planet's atmospheric conditions using NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope, with the Hubble Space Telescope joining in soon. Jupiter's iconic spot is turning up the heat. Mankind is beginning to unravel the mysteries of our solar system's biggest planet, starting with its atmosphere. Jupiter's atmosphere has roughly the same temperature as that of Earth, despite being 5 times farther away from the Sun. Dubbed the planet's energy crisis, this detail has long puzzled scientists until now. The explanation for the gas giant's superheated atmosphere lies in its Great Red Spot, which is a massive 10,000-mile-wide hurricane with 400-mile-per-hour winds that has been raging for centuries. Jupiter's atmospheric temperatures are around 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit, but the area directly above the Great Red Spot is hundreds of degrees hotter. This suggests a link between the planet's upper and lower atmospheres, despite being separated by a vertical distance of 500 miles. The heat is likely caused by high-energy acoustic waves shooting up from the storm. The waves cause atoms in the air to move around, raising the temperature. NASA expects to gather more information from the Juno spacecraft, which is now in orbit around Jupiter. Now that scientists have discovered why the atmosphere is so hot, maybe they can also figure out why the spot is red. SpaceX aims to reach Mars by 2018. After much teasing, SpaceX finally announced a launch date for its mission to Mars, and it's in the very near future. SpaceX is partnering with NASA to send a Red Dragon, a modified Dragon 2 capsule, on a mission to Mars by 2018. The company has been delivering cargo to the International Space Station since 2012, but the Red Planet is 560,000 times farther away. Instead of the Falcon 9, the Red Dragon will be launched using the more powerful Falcon Heavy rocket. But while launching the rocket is relatively simple, the landing, especially on a planet like Mars, is where things get tricky. With a much thinner atmosphere than Earth's, there's a less cushion for incoming spacecraft, which increases the likelihood of a crash. The Dragon's heat shield can withstand temperatures over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, making it possible to safely enter and plummet through the Martian atmosphere. The capsule is also equipped with 8 Super Draco engines, which would allow it to execute a propulsive landing in the Red Planet's service. Which would allow it to execute a propulsive landing on the Red Planet's surface. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk is set to reveal more details about the Mars launch at the International Astronautical Conference in September.
Potential alien megastructure isn't the Death Star we were hoping for. So after weeks of speculation that maybe, just maybe, the human race may have discovered an alien megastructure built by a super advanced extraterrestrial civilization, it turns out that the anomaly is probably just a bunch of ice and dust, says NASA. Damn it, federally funded scientific research! When will you make me a lightsaber? So, no, it looks like it's not the Death Star we were hoping for. An anomaly around the star KIC 8462852 that scientists earlier this year posited may be evidence of an alien megastructure is likely to be a swarm of comets, new research suggests. NASA used the Spitzer Space Telescope to observe data from the star in infrared light to test for other possibilities of what the debris might be. NASA says that if planetary impact or an asteroid collision was the cause of the debris, there would have been excess infrared light surrounding the star. Spitzer found none. While NASA doesn't rule out the megastructure theory, it gives more weight to the notion that comets of varying shapes and sizes are what caused the anomaly initially observed. So is that it? Will Yoda and Boba Fett not be joining us for the premiere of The Force Awakens? Are we really all alone? Sound off in the comments and let us know.
NASA releases stunning video of Mercury passing over the Sun. On May 9th, NASA filmed footage of Mercury passing between Earth and the Sun. The rare event, called a transit, only happens slightly more than once a decade. The transit isn't normally visible from Earth, as the three celestial bodies rarely align. Mercury was seen passing by the Sun as a tiny black dot. The planet's entire journey across the Sun, as visible from Earth, took about 7.5 hours, which, if you really think about it, isn't that long. You would have to watch Mercury pass the Sun almost 9 times to match the time you would need to spend finishing the entire original Star Trek series, which takes about 67 hours to complete. Deep Space Nine takes about 16.5 times as long as the celestial event. That's a little over 126 hours. Meanwhile, Voyager takes a little over 123 hours to watch. Now, if you want to go into the animated series, which isn't quite the same, you could almost complete it in the time Mercury's transit is viewable from Earth. So in the grand scheme of things, Mercury's travel didn't take long at all, but you just won't be able to see it all the time. The event happens about 13 times a century, and the last time was in 2006, and scientists say the next one won't occur until 2019. NASA may have found a way to bring water back to Mars. NASA's scientists think it's possible to restore Mars's oceans by creating an artificial magnetic field that sits in front of the planet. Scientists say it is possible to place an inflatable structure that generates a magnetic dipole field at the Mars L1 Lagrange point. This would form an artificial magnetic shield to protect the planet from solar wind and radiation. Under this protection, the Martian atmosphere could become thick enough to melt carbon dioxide ice at the northern pole.
In time, the atmosphere could spark a greenhouse gas effect that could restore some of Mars's oceans. Scientists said if the Martian atmosphere could be greatly enhanced over the next few decades, it would help pave the way for colonization on Mars.